Welcome to an early morning follow-up to the live event follow-up. There's been a couple of things I've changed and some further performance improvements. I was able to get rid of some polling in the event handling for scrolling with the panel array manager, thanks to Cyril G on Twitter for pointing this out. And it's funny because we've got this events palette here, and I'm always using these VIs over here, never looking over here. So what I had previously was there was this events update user event, which can get triggered from moving panels around, inserting panels, just requesting an update. And then this would just set a use a local variable to set a flag. And then in the timeout case, we would look to see if that flag was set, and then we do the update. And that was set at like 5 milliseconds. You could set it at 10 milliseconds, 100 milliseconds, however fast you wanted the update to be. Which isn't terrible. 5 milliseconds to check a Boolean flag is pretty much nothing for computers to handle these days. But I do like to avoid polling when possible. So now we just have this user event running the update logic directly. And instead what we're doing in the VIs that trigger the event, that generate the user event, we now within this array manager class store our event registrations, so we can then flush the queue, and we're filtering to just this update event. So this node right here will get rid of any existing update events that are in that event registration, and then we can generate a new one. So this way, at any given moment, there will only ever be one update event in the event queue for that event structure, which allows it to update as fast as it finishes doing updates for the subpanel layouts for the array elements. One of the drawbacks is you can't slow this down. If you wanted to go slower than it could possibly redraw, you would have to go back to something like the polling mechanism. This will use all of the UI thread to continue to perform updates as fast as it possibly can. And so you will, if you've got a lot of UI stuff going, this still might not be the best approach. So eventually I'll probably work in some mechanism to decide how to handle doing updates like this. And I'll probably end up doing a combination of the two down the road. But I did want to point out this flush event queue method. Another thing that I had talked about was the shutdown performance of the panels. And I thought that it was an issue. So if I could pull up one of the examples. I thought it had been an issue with the handling of this close event. But it turns out what it actually was is in here we used to close the reference for this VI. So we're keeping track, excuse me. So we're keeping track of VI reference that we're opening using the OpenVI reference node right here, so that we can get clones of them and open as many of them as we need. And we're storing that so we can do things with it later, like push it into a subpanel or open its front panel window. But it turns out the close reference function is one of those one of those nodes that needs access to LabVIEW's root loop. So kind of similar to how there's only one UI thread, there is this core loop at the very internals of LabVIEW. And there are a handful of things that need access to that to perform things in a thread safe manner, is my main understanding of it. Could be wrong in a couple of the details. But the close reference, which I'll make this look like what it used to look like, or kind of close to it. This was making our shutdowns take longer than it took to initialize our panels and get them running in the first place, which always seemed really funny to me. And I thought it was because the close user event was hogging the UI thread, and because there I go with the talking thing making me cough, and because I thought that this was in an event structure that was handling other UI stuff, that it would need to run on the UI thread. But I found out that that's not true. User events don't ever touch the UI thread, according to what I was told. So then I kept hunting, and I ended up finding out that Actor Framework does this same trick, where the core, their Actor core, they open a reference to it, and they never explicitly close it. And you can just let LabVIEW close that reference, and it will get rid of it and clean it up in a way that doesn't need access to that root loop. And only one thing can have access to that root loop at a time. So first one VI would close down, then the next one would close down. And so, in the case when I had a couple hundred of these panels running in this demo, they would all have to do the handshaking with that root loop to get access to it, run their cleanup code, and then the next one could go. So it feels really dirty, but the answer ended up being this. Not cleaning up after myself got rid of the performance issues. And now if we run this demo, and I believe, so I've got 1,000 elements in this. So this is going to take a second to start up, and I've got some code in here that's making it auto scroll. I was auto scrolling it to test those update events and their functionality. You can see how quickly it's updating its layout. This is running, I believe it's running 1,000 times a second. But when I close this, it closes down much faster than it did in the stream, and nothing's being left open. None of these element classes are still locked. None of the manager classes or the base classes are locked or anything. There's nothing that is misbehaving from not being closed down properly. So it feels dirty, but it turns out that that's the correct answer. So yeah, I am... Oh, another thing is, I found out why I'm having trouble opening this in previous versions of LabVIEW. Opened up a support ticket with National Instruments. The SE that ran it, opened it up in 2019, and of course it worked just fine for him in 2019. Now, I have been using the Save for Previous to get a copy of this saved in 2014. There is a 2014 branch on this GitHub repository, but one of the things, if you try to use it, you'd see, let me switch my mice here, you'd see an error window that looks like this, with these super helpful messages of this VI cannot connect to the reference item in a locked library. Which library is locked? It's not showing me that any of them are locked. So there is an issue with the friends setting in these classes. So if we go into the panels, the array panel and the regular panel, and we remove the friends, oh, yeah, why did I not get rid of both of them? Okay, so now the error has changed to this VI cannot access the referenced item in community scope. Since there are no friends configured, that's what we would expect to see. I can go back in and re-add these friends. So we've got I'm going to do the regular manager first. The order doesn't actually matter. This is just going to save me from having to rebrowse folders again when I go to do the second class. So we got those two added in. And now we'll do the same thing in array panel. We're already in that array manager class. And now it's not working this time. Of course it's going to do this when I'm recording. So in most circumstances, if you follow those steps, you know what? It's probably because this is still in... If you follow those steps, it should fix the problem. My environment is still being fussy. I've reached out to some LabVIEW developers, and I will probably be reopening a support ticket again now that I've narrowed it down to some specific fields in the class files that look like they're not being saved properly from 2020 Community Edition. But so hopefully soon we'll have this library available for everybody to use, particularly in versions before 2020 Community Edition, which I'm hoping for because I really want to use it at work as well. So thanks again for stopping in. Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up here. You can hit me up on my Twitter, and I'd love to work through some problems either in a live stream, or I can make some demos and make a video that I can post, and then I'll post all relevant code up on my GitHub. So thanks for stopping in. We'll catch you later.